In this video, we will learn the second of 5 ways to solve a quadratic equation. The first way that we learned was the graphing method. The graphing method is only practical when you have access to technology that will accurately make the graphs for you. Today, we will learn to solve equations using square roots. This lesson will be divided into 2 parts. In this part, we will focus on solving quadratic equations that have a b value of 0 when they are written in standard form. This means that our equations will have an x squared term and a constant term, but no x term. Of the 3 equations above, only equation C can be solved using the square root method. Equation A includes a 5x term. Equation B includes a term 6x. Since equation C does not have an x term, we know that its b value is 0, and the equation can be solved by using the square root method. When attempting to solve any equation, it is best to determine how many solutions you're looking for before you start. There are 2 ways to do this when dealing with today's type of an equation. The first way is to write the equation in standard form and to determine if the vertex is above or below the x-axis and if the parabola opens up or down. If we write equation C in standard form by subtracting 27 from the left side and from the right side, we'll get 3x squared minus 27 equals 0. So our a value is 3. Our b value is 0, as we said before, and our c value is negative 27. If I use x equals negative b over 2a, I will have negative empty bracket over 2 empty bracket, and my b value is 0. So no matter what my a value is, 0 divided by, in this case, 6 is 0. So my axis of symmetry has the equation x equals 0. Now to find my vertex, I need to use the related function. And so in standard form, my equation was 3x squared minus 27 equals 0. So the related function is y equals 3x squared minus 27. And if I go y equals 3, and now I know my x value is 0, I'll have y equals 3 times 0 squared minus 27, and that comes out to negative 27. So my vertex is at 0, negative 27. That makes my vertex below the x-axis, and I know that my a value is positive 3, so my parabola will open up. And we know that if our vertex is below the x-axis and our parabola opens up, we will have 2 real number solutions. The second way to determine the number of solutions is to isolate the x squared term and then imagine what it would look like if you took the square root of both sides of the equation. If you were to take the square root of both sides of the equation and the radicand is positive, then there will be a positive solution and a negative solution to your equation. If the radicand is 0, then you'll have only one solution, x equals 0. And if the radicand is negative, you will have no real number solutions because there is no number when you multiply it times itself that will come out to a negative number. It's either a positive times a positive is a positive, or a negative times a negative is a positive. To isolate the x squared term in equation C, we need to divide both sides of the equation by 3. This will give us the equation x squared equals 9. Since 3 squared equals 9 and negative 3 squared equals 9, this equation will have 2 real number solutions. We also know that if we want to find the value of x, the last step we need to do is to take the square root of the left side and the right side of the equation. This will give us x equals the square root of 9. Since the radicand is positive 9, we know that our equation will have 2 solutions, x equals 3 and x equals negative 3. because 3 times 3 is 9, and negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. If you need more information about how many solutions your equation will have, check out part 3 of your notes. Example, solve the equation using square roots. Round your solution to the nearest hundredth. And our equation is 2 equals 4x squared minus 5. Be sure to write this example down on part number 6 of your notes. So the first question that we have to ask ourselves, is this the kind of equation that can be solved by using square roots? And we know that those equations are equations that have a b value of 0. Or another way of saying the same thing is we're looking for equations that don't have an x term. So in our equation, I see 3 terms. I see a 2, I see a 4x squared, and I see a minus 5. The 2 and the minus 5 are constant terms, and the 4x squared is an x squared term. So our equation does not have an x term, which means our b value would be 0 if we put it in standard form. So this is the type of equation that we can solve by using square roots. The next thing we need to determine is how many solutions will there be to this equation. And in order to do that, I'm going to isolate the x squared. The first step in isolating the x squared is to undo adding or subtracting. So in this problem, I'm going to undo subtracting 5, or I'm going to add 5 to both sides of the equation. Now, after you finish undoing adding and subtracting, the next step is to undo multiplication and division. So we have 4x squared, which is another way of saying 4 times x squared. So to undo that, I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 4. If you're wondering why I'm undoing the parts of the equation in the order that I'm undoing them in, check out, again, part number 4 of your notes. Since 4 does not go into 7 evenly, I'm just going to leave the equation like that because I already know the important information. I know that the 7 over 4 is positive. So when I think of what value of x would make the right side of the equation equal the left side of the equation, I know that some number that's positive to the second power will give me positive 7 over 4. And I know some number that's negative to the second power will give me positive 7 over 4. So this equation will have 2 real number solutions. Now we just need to figure out what are those real number solutions. And so we've already undone this adding and subtracting. We've already undone the multiplication and division. Now we need to undo the exponents. So to get rid of the x squared, we need to take the square root of the right side of our equation and the square root of the left side of our equation. On the calculator screen, we get 1.322875656 equals x. But that is not the whole answer. We know that we're going to have 2 real number solutions. So at this point, what we're saying to ourselves is positive 1.322875656 times positive 1.322875656 equals the same thing as the fraction 7 over 4. But we know that there's a second answer. We also know that negative 1.322875656 times negative 1.322875656 will also equal positive 7 over 4. So those are our 2 solutions to our quadratic equation. Now, in the directions, it says that we need to round those solutions to the nearest hundredth. So that means we need to keep 2 decimal places. So we're going to keep that much of the positive version of our answer and that much of the negative version of our answer. Now, when you're rounding to the nearest hundredth, you need to look at the 2 that comes to the right of the hundredths place. And that 2 is not big enough to force us to round up And so our final answer to this problem is that one solution will be x equals 1.32, and the other solution will be x equals negative 1.32. And if you need help remembering how to round to the nearest hundredth or the nearest tenth, you can check out part number 5 of your notes.